No, thanks, Manu. I think my colleague David did a really good job, and we're really grateful for the opportunity to present. So thank you very much. And it hasn't been easy with lockdown to make all this work, so I really appreciate what you're doing, Manu, and your team. Thank you very much.
Well, one of the questions we had was, according to Rod Carr, we're burning 1 million years worth of photosynthesis every year. What would suggest that the amounts of biomass needed to replace current fossil fuel consumption is way more than what we can feasibly cut down and process? I think this one was sort of directed towards you, Stefan.
Yeah, that's true, but we're kind of making the assumption that we're going to keep doing things the way we do them now. There's going to be new processes required and new ways of doing things. Liquid fuels at any rate are going to be, they'll decrease over time, and we'll get an increase in particularly electric vehicles and electrification of the way we do a lot of things. So no, you are completely right that what we're looking forward to in the next 20, 50, 100 years will be a re-envisaging of how we organise and run our resources on the planet.
Brenda, congratulations on being the #1 honey company in the world recently.
Thanks for that.
I was wondering, you fellas, your context, your situation seems almost unique, but I was wondering if you have other communities that you've connected with across the motu that are in a similar situation, trying to protect what's there in the ngahere and trying to develop economic opportunities from that, and in such a what feels like a really unique situation. Are there others in a similar situation?
Yeah, not really, actually. We were connecting with other forest owners in relation to the harvesting of tawa and the harvesting of under sustainable forestry management plans, of other native, including podocarps, but it's something we're quite mixed on, and it's very hard to make that work economically. So it's also, environmentally, it's not something we're very comfortable with. But however, as we indicated, we're happy to harvest tawa in coops and then plant out podocarps so that we get this reconstitution of our forest. So, it's pretty limited, actually, because I don't know that there's many others. Yeah, we've talked to people in the South Island, but they're dealing with beech forest. We've talked with Dave and Co about what the kinds of things that might happen around Tōtara up north. But it's been pretty limited. We feel it's been a fairly lonely road, really, what we're doing. But it's because we're a manager of a forest that is a native forest, and I guess most other people have got pine forest, or they've got a farm, or the native forest is actually under conservation. And so they're not in a position to do this active management that we're seeking to do.
It feels a lot closer to what we see overseas, perhaps, with South America or in Asia and places, even in Africa now. Do you have any contact with Indigenous communities offshore?
We've been to Thailand, to the mountains in Thailand, to spend some time with the Karen tribe, and they manage their forest through, so a 14-year cycle that they use, and they grow food, they burn off, they slash and burn, and that does have a dirty name generally because it's associated with a lot of other slashing and burning that happens in some of those highland forests in that region for the purposes of growing other crops. But these people are totally integrated with their forest environment and have worked their forest environment and reconstituted their forest over time, over very long periods of time. They've been there for hundreds and hundreds and probably thousands of years. So So yes, we think that that's actually where we need to reach out, because Tūhoe is probably the only mountain people in New Zealand, in Aotearoa. All other tribes ended up, towards the coast. And although they may have used their highlands for food sources, living as a part of their forest in the highlands was another thing altogether. And so we feel that we get a lot from reaching out to other peoples in other parts of the world that are mountain people and forest people. Yeah.
Awesome. Stefan, at present, the forestry industry is not even supplying enough logs for the domestic construction industry. So will it make enough logs available for biofuel, so forth? This is from Ian Salmon. I'm all in favour of a circular economy, but an industry that is still predominantly owned offshore doesn't have a great track record of serving local communities or respecting Aotearoa's national interests, far from it. So is this a genuine strategic move or just another way of propping up the status quo for industrial forestry?
I would suggest you don't use a pine tree at all. It's not about removing the timber. It's about, we saw a picture of that slash that had come down through Tolaga Bay. All of that slash is biomass that could have been converted into something more useful. It could have been converted into chemicals that we could put into fermenters, which we could have turned into pharmaceuticals or plastics packaging, or just reduce our imports. We import pretty much every polymer that we currently use in New Zealand, and that could be shifted. So it's not just about the timber. In fact, I would say that you want to make sure that whatever we're going to do aligns so we're not disrupting our current revenue streams, but we're enhancing them. And it really does come down to right tree, right place. And pine isn't necessarily the species that you would grow if you were trying to make biofuels, even though, as I would say, biofuels as a liquid fuel is probably not something in the longer term that would be looked at. We'd be looking at more about, some liquid biofuels, maybe for marine and for jets, but definitely not for car use.
Okay. And Nikki, you had some good reality checks in your presentation around the opportunity, but I was wondering if you were backing some products and services from native species where you'd be focusing, if anywhere, at present.
So for me, it's very much about, it's taking that collective approach. It's working together with others, which of course is what we're trying to do with the Kānuka oil industry that we're looking to build. So rather than, being sort of fragmented and all trying to compete against each other, let's have that sort of, broader whakaaro. Let's work together. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, some good lessons from some other industries as we try to develop new sectors based on natives. I think we better keep moving along. So thank you all again. Had a lot of good feedback from all of your presentations on the various chat forums and things. And one of the challenges, I think, is how we progress some of these discussions after today and keep the kōrero going. And there's just a lot of good feedback about the information, the detailed information that you've all been providing. So thank you again for that. Not me.